to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Let's see, everybody made it. Time change is always a fun deal.
It is?
Yeah.
Not when you're with a 3.5-year-old.
I know, I'm saying that sarcastically.
I know you.
So call the meeting to order, motion to approve, on the agenda, I just want to mention if we need to change, I received a message from Don Reefer, he will not be here today.
Okay.
I do have a tidbit of information, you know, it's really nothing, he's just gonna, you know, visit with us. Do we need to strike that? He won't be here personally, but I can...
You just give the...
I can tell you what he's gonna do.
We'll just leave it that way.
We'll leave it that way, that way we've at least got it for her notes.
Just wanted to throw that out there.
No
Is that
problem.
fine?
Mhm.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes?
I read through them, they all look good, so I motion to approve.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes approved. General public concerns? No, you're just generally concerned, not public concerned, okay? All right, seeing none, did we have to wait till 8:35?
Yeah, we should.
Yeah.
That's public hearing.
Okay.
To do claims?
How long, yeah, just what I was
Oh.
thinking.
Okay.
I haven't got that far yet.
Well,
Somebody else...
I know Dave looked at
Okay.
something.
Yep.
I got 117,002.00, and drainage is 7688.53.
I'll second.
How much for the drainage?
$7,688.53.
Got a first, a second, any further discussion on the claims? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Claims approved.
Sounds like a coffee pot struggling.
I know it, growling at you.
Here's probably got it in the wrong spot.
Thanks, Dave. I'm pretty sure I got it in the right spot. I don't know, it's that time change, man.
I checked it this weekend.
We won't pay you tomorrow if you do.
I'd understand if you did.
Okay, get that one right. I did it the first time, but I did the second time.
I didn't...
Get me in the right spot to sign it.
Okay. Right in front of the tab.
Okay, does that get me both of them? Drainage.
Yep, and then the other one.
I'm black bookless this morning. I thought it was in my truck. It's on my desk at home.
Uh-oh, so you're going by thinking?
I'm thinking, well,
It's gonna be lots of hands.
when we had...
See, if you had it in your phone, you always have your phone with you.
Tuesday night, I called into the Linda's meeting. I think that was the only thing I had for the week. Yeah. Too many books.
That should take care of that. Do we have anything else in here that anybody needs?
No.
Just for a little exercise, I'll run that in there.
Aye.
And I think we should be pretty good on our hearing.
Peggy, while we're, and I know you don't rule for ISAC, but why did they set this meeting up this week in boys state basketball?
They have in the past.
It always
It is?
happens in the
Serious?
springtime.
Yeah, that's your entertainment when you're not at meetings.
Well,
Don't know that that's...
the entertainment's gonna be of course, it's not like wrestling where the parking lot's always
The
full.
parking lot is gonna be...
Yeah.
But did you happen to catch the Garrigan?
Oh, I did, I watched it, I actually watched part of it.
We watched, it was sad.
Wow.
Mhm.
Like, wow.
Now,
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing on the property, maximum property tax dollars for 2021.
I will second that motion.
any discussion, and all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing is open.
8:36.
Okay, you guys should all have copies of this. I did make copies for the press here. They would like to have them. I have one for Donovan and one for Ken. This was posted on our county website as required by Iowa code. Also was put in the newspaper, and it just basically tells that we according to what the guidelines were from, I can't remember the Senate file from last year, that changed it and said we had to do this second publication. But if you're over the 102%, then you had to publish. So the only way you find out is when you start putting your numbers in. And we were over, they combined the general basic and the general supplemental levy together, to see if that's over, and then the rural services stands by itself. So the general services, total was 2.99%, and the rural services was 3.61. And then you also have to list your reasoning for why you went up in both of those categories. So in the general services area, the main thing I could find, not looking into a lot of little things to get it to come out exact, but the main thing was the 9.21% increase in our health insurance premium.
That's a big
That was
increase.
big, yeah. Under rural services, the increase was due to, the transfer from rural services to secondary road was higher. This time, it usually increases every year based on valuation. We did increase the library allocation slightly, and then there were some wage increases. We have some sheriff deputies that we pay out of rural services instead of out of general basic. So that was all I could find that would make that go up. So it's not a huge increase over last time. Our levy rate in rural services did not change at all. The levy rate actually in general services, which was general supplemental and general basic, actually went down from $5.30 to $5.20. So there's no increase in tax, or in levy rates. It's just an increase in dollars. So in order to do that, they make you have a public hearing, and then after the public hearing, if there are no objections, then we have a resolution to approve.
So really, the proposed percentage change is change in dollars,
Yes,
and that's why this kicked in.
yep, because that's how the wording is in the code.
It's a dollar change, so, yeah. You explained it succinctly, that there's not a percent levy change.
No.
It's just a percent.
Dollar change.
So this is the first year they've required this.
Yes.
This isn't the first year this has happened.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
They talked about this pretty extensively at the one, remember at the one ISAC meeting? It was not favored by everybody.
Yeah, yeah. And I know that there are several counties that I've talked to that have had to do this. Everybody had to publish it, whether
Right.
you went over it or not. So every county had to put that in the paper, and every city will have to do that also. But, if you go over, then you have to explain why you went over.
Right.
That's what we did.
Do you have any further discussion on this? Do we have any public comments on this proposed resolution?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second?
Discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing is closed.
I move we adopt resolution 2020-6, approving the maximum property tax dollars for 2021.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution passes.
Good, sometime you'll need to sign right down there,
I will do that.
that makes it official.
Thank you, Peggy,
You're welcome.
for putting
Got
up
the
with
first step of...
for putting up with one more headache that the state deemed necessary.
Exactly.
So did you get the email from Tate? Was that in reference to all of this? We had an email on our stuff that Paul Tate sent. Did you guys read that? I was trying to read it last night.
I didn't read it.
Our tales of, I assumed it had to do with rules of publishing it twice or having a meeting twice and publishing it and all the stuff that...
I know that one of the bills in the legislature this year is to have your budget meetings, you have your work sessions, to be public,
Meetings.
meetings. We already keep ours
I was
open.
gonna say,
The press is here, anybody can come in and sit in, but I guess they want them, maybe agendized somehow different than...
Well, we need recliners for them if they're
So
sleeping,
they
when
can
they're
do
sitting in
that.
there.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, Carl?
So, I'm not sure what the difference is, but I'm sure we'll find out when we go to ISAC this week, because they'll
Yeah.
probably explain that a little bit better. So,
Would it be, fair that the next thing I'm seeing here, the, certification of cost for these combined elections?
That one was a tricky one, yes. I ended up using a template from another county, because you take the total amount of how much you spent for the election, and then you have to allocate it out to all the different cities and schools. We have two colleges within our, two college districts within our county, but only one college actually had something on the ballot. So you couldn't allocate any money to the other one, because they didn't have
something on the ballot.
something on the ballot. So the sheet with all the colors on it, that one there, has all the splits of how we figured out. And so when we're sending bills out, we're just gonna highlight whichever school district it is, or whichever city it is, and send them the entire sheet, so they can see how this is compiled.
That's a good idea.
That way they're not confused as to, well, why am I doing this?
Yeah, why is
Yeah.
it this amount, yeah.
It was pretty common with most counties to do just a base fee, of $500, some put $300. The $300 would not even cover
I see that.
the programming costs from the, like Adkins, when they do our election programming. So we thought that includes all the tally lists, the canvas books, the, papers that everybody signs, the supplies, plus the programming, testing, so everything is in there. And so they're charged a base fee plus a per register voter fee, so. So that's what we came up with. Those bills, with your approval today, will go out in the mail, and hopefully, we'll get reimbursed for all those.
So do you want it individually, or do you, I mean, you want this one for the school?
Probably.
Yes.
Individual, I'll make a motion
Individually.
to approve that.
I will second,
Do you need the total?
Nope.
Okay.
Okay, any further discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. And we have the certifying the cost for the City of Pioneer special election.
Yep. The City of Pioneer had to have a special election. If you remember, nobody was, elected in the last
November.
city school. Nobody wrote anybody in, nobody was on the ballot. So we had the special election, and luckily they do have a mayor and a council now. So their costs are much less than what the costs were for,
Yeah, but if we figure out that per vote,
yeah, I know. And I got copies of these for the press if they wanted to.
9 or 10 people.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Don't know if Donovan wants them, there's one for Ken.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the Pioneer special election cost, or to certify it.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved?
Okay, those will go out today too.
Excellent. So this is from, okay, all right. So it's just to get this clarified so that, and split out correctly, so they can pay for this past election. And this is, you have to do this every time,
Yep,
you have election?
from now on. This is the first time we had a combined city-school election,
Oh.
so it made it a little more complicated on how
To-
you
to-
bill it.
Oh, to segregate it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, okay, so it's just a bit more of a...
And then once you get a format, it's like, okay, that's what we'll do in the future, then we'll bill them this.
Well, you did a fine job.
So, well, I had a lot of help from another county.
That's
so
good.
thank
It's
goodness.
always good to-
We auditors share, we're good at
Try
sharing.
not to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Took some time to study it and figure out exactly what figure went where and why, but... I got it
Excellent
figured out.
work. And good deal.
You could, if you want to, since we're done with our public hearing on the maximum property tax dollars, you could set the date and time for the public hearing on the Humboldt County budget, which is
Okay.
the big one.
So,
And why I didn't write it on here, I don't know. I was looking at March 23rd.
I was gonna
I think
say,
that's
because I'm
what
sure
you
you
said.
had dates in mind.
I did. And earlier the better. can go check agenda real quick, or we can wait and I can check it while you're doing drainage. I
Okay.
forgot to look at the time.
Well,
But,
how about we set it up for 8:35?
okay.
I'll make a motion to set the public hearing date for March 23rd at 8:35.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So 8:35 AM, March 23rd, public hearing for the Humboldt County budget.
Okay.
And I will get that published in the paper. Probably post that one out on the website also.
Okay,
Okay.
perfect.
I'll write mine in when I locate my book.
I could show you how to do it on your phone.
Oh, I know where it's at. That Reimer's Trucking, we're in the middle of tax season, so I'm trying to move some,
Flying in.
oh, yeah.
Okay.
Goes down to the lost taxes,
Do we have something on
local
that?
option
Yeah,
sales tax.
right below the-
language.
Yes, do we?
I don't have my page with me, I
Oh,
go
that's
grab
fine,
it,
okay.
but that's okay.
Is that gonna- is that-
I just wanna put it on your radar that we are going to need to address if we wanna leave our local option sales tax language the same as it is, or if we want to change that. Right now, we're kind of in limbo. There is some legislation this year allowing special measures to be put on the general election ballot. If that happens, we'll have until sometime in August that we have to file our language. Whether it's changed or stays the same, it has to be done by then. If that doesn't happen, then we can only do a local option sales tax re-election as a special. So it would have to be in March then. March would be a late date. It has to be implemented 90 days before it takes effect. You have to vote it in before. So that would just make it in time for the July 1st implementation. If, for some reason, I don't like to have it in March if we don't
Yeah,
have to.
it's too close.
Yeah, 'cause if for some reason some small community doesn't make it through and needs to have another election, then they're out because we
Yeah.
didn't have time for a second one. So, I have let some of the cities and just cities, that's in this, know that if they want to do some changing, to please start talking to their councils. Start getting some stuff together, so if this all falls together and they can do it in November, then we can do it real quick. Otherwise, we could have a special like in September too, if we wanted to, and have that be our first. We'll know when the legislature's done in May, when they're finished, what passed and what didn't pass. And if nothing was done to put language in there, then we could schedule a special election, I guess in September and do it.
So if they didn't change a bunch of things, you'd basically use the same as you've had.
Yep, but they would still need to certify
Right.
them, even if they left it the same, Currently, we do 70% to, community betterment, or secondary road, and 30% to community betterment. So,
So we'll wait for the state government to,
yeah, and you can be thinking about whether you want to leave the language the same, or whether you want to change it, or which one to do it.
Have to look at the language first to get
Yeah,
that
and I
decision,
can
but...
get that to you, I'll get the copy.
So we can't do anything that's stated till, after the legislative session,
Yeah.
see, but we'll have to have it, it's...
But you wanna be ready.
Oh, absolutely. It's on a ballot deal, election, you said?
Yes, has to be elected, yep. Whenever you implement a local option sales tax, it has to be by vote of the people.
Okay.
And
is
then
that a-
when it has a 10-year sunset, so our sunset is coming up.
Okay, so it's...
Okay.
All right,
Yeah.
so it's every 10 years it has to be approved.
It doesn't have to have a sunset, but the Board of Supervisors at that time,
Put it in there.
put in the 10-year sunset, so that gave everybody a chance to make a change if they wanted to.
Okay.
So does every
Coming-
city,
I just say, so it's coming up on the sunset of the 10 years, that's why the election...
Yes. And you wanna have your election and everything in place before July 1st.
Mhm.
Because
So
you have that
years
90-day
ago,
notification.
2020 looked like a long ways out, but
It did.
2030 really looks...
That's a long ways out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes, and every city will have to do something too.
right, and they all have, does it all have, every city have to approve it, or If they
would
don't
have to have an
approve it,
election. If they don't approve it, they won't
They won't
get
get
any
part of it.
They
election.
won't.
gotcha, they'll still be charged
Out of the
if,
mix, yeah.
No.
okay,
They won't be charged and they won't get it.
okay.
Mhm.
If you buy something in that city.
Right.
Right.
Okay, that's what I was wondering, okay.
So, and what's the sunset date? It's not this year, it's next year.
Actually, June 30th of 2021.
Okay.
So we need to know now to have it
So
passed.
Yep. Because I know the last time that we had one, the county side for some reason didn't pass. And so we had to have a second election that passed that time. And it was, I think, mainly just misinformation.
Yeah,
People didn't understand.
what it was.
Just, if no big changes come from the state, when they get done with their session this year, could this be on the ballot in November?
Yeah. If no big changes come, no. They have to make an actual change down there in legislation to allow public measures to be put on the general election ballot.
So this is gonna be a separate election regardless then?
No.
No?
If they make the,
If they make the change, it'll be on the November
If they
ballot.
make the change-
If they do not make the change, then we have to have a special election
yes, that's right.
in September.
And the last time this was on, as an election, it was a special election.
Yes.
Mhm.
So that would be the thing I mean, who knows what they might do there, but it'd be not, so they may make the change that it could be put on the general election.
Yes, which would be very much more economical for all
Yeah,
the cities.
that's what I- okay.
Save a lot of money.
Yeah.
Did
When
not,
you- Anytime you can combine resources on an
Well,
election,
certainly.
you're
Mhm.
sharing election costs for programming, you're sharing election costs for notices,
Mhm.
all your supplies, all
Workers.
those kind of things, yeah.
Mhm.
But when you have to have it by yourself, then you
Yeah.
have to pay your own costs.
So historically, it's always been a special election, and now they wanna be able to put it on the general election, is basically what it is.
maybe.
Maybe.
The
If
governor's
it-
pushing it another 1 cent too.
Yeah.
Mhm,
So,
yep,
Mhm.
yep.
So between now and whenever, then you can get us a little more information so we can see what the
Sure.
language is.
I'm hoping to learn more at ISAC too, they'll let us know how
Let
the
it-
bill's coming along, and I'll get a bill number so we can kind of follow it.
Okay.
and
the
see
lost
what's doing.
funds is not lost.
No, it's not lost. Everybody knows where it is. Everybody knows what it
Lost
is.
in sales tax.
So maybe, well, ISAC's this week, so within the next week or two, maybe you'll have some
Mhm.
information.
Hope to.
And that's really what you wanted to let us know, just get our mind around that it's
Yep, just
upcoming.
to be ready, and, yeah. We don't wanna be scrambling at the last minute trying to figure out what
No, well, we should be.
And maybe
pretty good
we'll be
shape.
making no major changes, but maybe we will. So,
Okay.
I have to put it out there so you guys can be thinking.
Well, like I said, I'd just like to see what the wording is now, at some point.
Yep.
And we're discussing it, to see
Yep.
what, if anything, would be changed.
Okay.
Sounds good?
Cool.
Should we do our committee report?
I think so.
Looks like you got time.
Yep, we can do that in 5 minutes.
Well, maybe Bruce can, but...
I think I can.
You can't find it, well, make something up.
Monday, I had the LEC meeting in the morning, and then on Tuesday evening, conference board at 6. That's it.
All I did was the conference board, and I did a call in on that, 'cause I wasn't back in town yet, so I called and used on Sandy's minutes, so you'll have to bill me for her minutes on that
Yeah,
call.
I'm unlimited. Okay, Monday, the second, I went down to the food pantry, and it was already unloaded, but I unloaded boxes, how's that?
Yeah, I guess I was
They got there
there.
early, they got there early on Monday, I guess.
Yeah, they were, 'cause I come right on time and they were half done.
Yeah, isn't that something? Yeah, so, but that's okay, I unloaded
County boys
boxes.
were
That's
helping them, Dave
Oh,
Dave
good,
and Ben were helping them
Okay.
out, so.
all right. And then Tuesday, we had the, assessors meeting, or the 3rd. Wednesday, I had, at 9 o'clock, I met with Kathy, our, mental health advocate here at the courthouse. And then at 4 o'clock, I went to, Fort Dodge for the, Iowa Workforce Development Region 5 meeting. We're going to, at this time, move to stay as a separate region and try to get all of our certifications in. and then, possibly, move in with another region, but, everybody's gotta agree to it. There's only been a couple of regions that have combined, so everybody's pretty much certifying for themselves to start. And a lot of it is just because of the administration cost, that's why they're doing it, because they're putting extra, people that we have to do, like we have to have a board staff to actually do all of our stuff. We have to have a, fiscal agent, where before Iowa Central did that, but they're not allowed to do it because they're also our provider. So it's just, yeah, so it's fun. That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
All I had was on the 3rd with the conference board.
Monday the 2nd, I had the LEC meeting that morning. And then Tuesday the 3rd, the conference board here. And that's the only things I had last week.
I had a text from them on, you guys had helped her unload the truck. She was very thankful, and I gotta remember to tell Ben and Dave the same, 'cause they were worried about,
Well, she's there by herself.
yeah.
Yeah, it would've been an awful lot.
Yeah, it was kinda fun to unload the stuff and put it on the
It's
shelf.
kinda like Christmas,
I mean,
you know, what's in
you're
the box
just,
and
you're
you
doing it,
put
you're like,
it-
oh, hey, I don't know, I'm like, oh, I never saw that before, that looks good.
I didn't make it, but the food pantry truck's coming in this week, isn't it?
Oh,
The mobile, yeah, it's Wednesday at, 4:30?
4.
4 to 6:30.
At the fairgrounds, right?
See, now, there's my book again, let me down. Let me down.
Couldn't do the right reminder.
Yep.
Hopefully that, not raining.
Is it supposed, I know today it's supposed to be better.
We got rain basically almost every day.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that.
What's the time on that, Dave? 4 to 6
Usually by 6 it's done.
Yep.
on Wednesday.
Yep. I'm gonna hike out about 6, 'cause I got a dog meeting.
Well,
The building is moving right along, they got walls and,
Should be a
see the little
walkthrough.
portholes in the side already.
Supposed to be a walkthrough this time.
I'll make a motion to go to drainage.
Friday.
Yes.
Motion to go to drainage by Bruce, I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those, we're in drainage.
I have, my first meeting Thursday morning, are you going down?
I do believe so.
Well,
Not
I just
100% positive.
got an email that my first meeting's at 7:30, so it's gonna be,
Early.
probably leave by a little after 5 in order to get for that secondary roads meeting. Sure.
No, this is what I'm drinking.
Oh.
Okay, I'll get you one too. Just one, let you know I found the right
Nice,
price.
found the right cup.
Is Don Reaper still coming this morning?
No, he is not.
No, he was not here, I want to talk to him.
Oh, no, he is not, Carl.
He bowed out today for some reason.
I bought some chemicals from him a year ago and hadn't paid him for it yet, so I was writing a check.
Oh.
I'll get out of here,
Well,
let you guys drink.
We can take his check.
We'll just
Carry on.
We'll put it in the general fund and get it to him eventually.
Thank you.
Good morning. Good
How are you?
Good, good.
Sandy, are you on the phone?
Hi, everyone, I'm Rick Hopper.
Good job for that, Dick, yeah, nice to meet you.
I left my replacement.
We thought maybe you retired. We haven't seen you for so
My wife
long.
thinks I should, but, yeah.
all of us wives think our husbands retired. Do they listen to us? No.
No, I'm saying too, don't they, Sandy?
Okay, thanks.
And then they'd sit at home and you'd say, why don't you go find something to do?
Yes, that's probably
That's what I've heard too.
That's probably the case, too.
People say that.
You're in my way.
Good morning, Trish.
Good morning, how are you?
Morning.
Good.
I told him I wasn't gonna bring it up again. I
You
said,
didn't do
it's
it.
his choice.
Well, my wife wasn't home yet.
And pretty much I've stuck to it. It's
I
the
had
kids that
opted
hound
for
him more than we, I think it's because they
leftover.
wanted to do stuff for him.
Yeah, leftovers.
That's figured the neighbors would wipe it out.
Petition filed a while back for this, and this is the result of that petition for DD 88, just south of town. Between Highway 169 and Gotch Park Road, and it crosses County Road C-49. You'll see it drawing way in the back.
So basically, this is just runs across that first road and then it jumps up into that ravine
Yes.
to the north.
Yep, correct. Yep.
Down on Aggie and Becker.
Yeah, yep. There's some question as far as the watershed boundary, but we'll get topography and conditions allow, but basically I'm here to summarize the report and, ask you to set a hearing date. Established back in 1916, almost all of these now are over 100 years old. We looked at two options. The petitioner was, Mark Daggy, wanted us to definitely look at just the 1-inch coefficient, not a half-inch. So what we did is we looked at one option to just get tile south of C-49, let the landowners do anything beyond that, or take it all the way to the end of the main.
So the first option's going all the way to the end?
Yep, yep.
Okay.
We estimated the cost of that to average just over $900 an acre. Largest pipe on both of these is 30-inch pipe, outletted in that ravine. The full-length one is about $725 an acre. I think this would be one to go to hearing like this and then get landowner input on which option to pursue. If it goes forward, you could even bid both of those if you wanted to. We can decide that later, so. Not a lot of landowners involved. You know, and there's only 420 acres in the district.
Whole thing.
Yep, the whole thing.
Yeah, it's a small one.
Yeah.
So, it's bid concrete, or you done plastic also?
We've left it as concrete. We could bid it. Bidded properly, there's not much difference in price. But we'd sure be willing to bid it both.
Well,
Depth-wise, how deep are we on this thing?
I don't know, to tell you the truth, because I haven't run a profile of it, what's the ground.
So it probably can't be too deep.
Can be,
I was gonna say, isn't that the part of the complaint, the last, or what's there is pretty shallow?
yeah, that's pretty typical.
Mhm.
Follow the low spots completely and shallow. When it was put in 100 years ago by hand.
I know, you're digging with a spade.
Yeah, you just don't-
But what I'm saying is when they put plastic shallower, they don't have to embed it in quite so much rock. Is that
Well, it
right?
depends on how shallow. It's
Well, it's
actually
so
worse, it's actually worse with it deep because of the crushing effect.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
the depth is only
more.
like 8 foot, they don't have to
That's
put, you don't have to put rock in
You
it.
could spoon it and put rock over the top probably.
Right, you don't have to put quite so much rock in.
I think that's a good method. My only hangup is if you get into sandy conditions, you don't have a bottom. so
Then you
have
gotta
to
put
pay-
rock in
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah.
But you
yeah.
gotta put rock in for concrete when it's sandy, right?
Well, true, yeah, depending, yeah, if you can't get a bottom for it to sit on, yeah.
It's pretty sandy soil down there.
I can believe it,
Mhm.
yeah.
Well, I just would like to see, at least look at it,
Yep.
just for the simple fact of what we did up north versus
I think so too, the speed of
speed
construction.
of ability to put it in the ground
Yeah.
is huge compared to what we just are
Yeah.
trying to get done.
And-
Yep.
And it lasts just
Well,
as
it's-
long,
Well,
plastic
as far as we know, we
versus...
don't have 105 years of record on plastic.
Gotcha.
Right.
That's a problem.
So how long have we been doing plastic?
They've been doing it 20 years, probably, maybe 30. I don't know.
Of course, the concrete industry points out the failures of the...
Of course, yeah.
They,
So there's some pretty good data on
Yes, yes.
plastic.
40 years probably, or in Humboldt.
And when you go to
Yeah.
their meetings, they say, well, we're doing it up in Minnesota, and there's a lot more weather up there that they
Temperature.
fight with, so...
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
just,
ground conditions are the main thing, really.
we basically took the plunge, what, the last,
Project out there.
Yeah, yeah.
It's up 5 of 11, and it went well.
That's
Oh,
something
yeah.
that went really fast.
Yeah.
And it was, okay.
Went fast,
Ground
so
conditions...
landowners were all real happy except
Yes.
for one, but that
Yeah.
had nothing to do with plastic.
Yeah,
Okay.
true.
Um,
We do have to look at the outlet of that one, since you mentioned it. Some of the rock have slid off the outlet pipe, the apron.
so, okay.
We were gonna come down today, and combine it with a couple other things, and get out there with a drone and get a close view of what's happened.
Well, that's already been looked at, I mean,
I have a work order for that.
yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know that you need to look at it.
well, all we really figured to do was drone it when we were here anyway,
Mhm.
so, but,
I mean, I'm not entirely sure who put the rock on that, nobody seems to know, but regardless, it just kind of rolled into the
Was it for Pete?
ditch.
I thought so.
That did-
Well, either they,
If you've assigned it to someone, that's great.
either, I don't know, I've asked on that, and Gerke's, if they didn't do it personally, they had someone do it.
Okay,
So they subcontracted it, and they went in and, you know, it's, I don't know, it's not a humongous deal, but the kind of a rip-rap-ish type
I've
stuff,
not looked at it.
did you look at it?
That was before it slid to the bottom though.
Yeah, and that kind of slid in
It looked
the,
good, it looked good when they first did it.
yeah.
so,
But,
that needs a little attention. And there, yeah, there's a, no, it's semi-cosmetic.
Yeah, well, that's how I thought of it, but,
Mhm.
yeah.
I wouldn't spend any money
Okay,
looking at it.
That's good to know.
No, I would not, and,
I'll make a motion to accept this, so we can...
Secretary of Roads is going to be doing possibly a widening of that.
yes, and they are wanting to put new pipes through the road,
Mhm.
so maybe this is something we'll do at the same time, because the road's gonna be closed for this tile project, so we gotta keep them.
If they put new
Well, we
pipes in the
also-
road, yeah.
At one time, he also talked about trying to widen or open his, buy some of that,
Oh, yeah, widen the right of way,
well,
because we have a narrow
because that
right
is
of
really
way.
narrow through there.
Yeah,
And possibly even raise the road a little bit.
okay.
And that thing, the truck traffic on that is huge.
Oh,
with
yeah.
The cement plant out there, pipe plant out
Yeah,
there.
oh, I'm sure it is.
They continue to just get
I got it.
busier.
Before you go to your motion, do we need to add look into plastic
We'll
on this?
just do that,
I just did, okay.
yeah.
All right,
So we can just accept it,
Yeah.
make a motion to accept
Yeah.
the preliminary report.
Second.
any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Report accepted.
We'll need a date, and April 20th, I think, is the soonest regular meeting day to have it. Not a lot of people, I asked.
Being that I don't have my book, I'm gonna look at my calendar
April 20th? Yeah.
okay, wide open.
You notice I didn't say anything.
It is, there's nothing on the agenda.
Yeah, so you pick a time you like to be down here.
here. Let's make it early, let's make it 8.
Okay, I'm willing. Is this a test?
I'm just...
Yeah, it is. I think it
being
was.
hungry today, too.
I'm good.
Let's say 9 o'clock, just in case we
Yeah.
have a light agenda. I'll make a motion to have that, meeting at 9 o'clock on April 20th.
20th,
Okay.
I still like
I'll second that motion.
9 AM.
9 AM,
You already did, didn't you?
What did I already do?
Second it.
I think I did, didn't I,
Yes.
second?
Yeah.
Okay, I
Oh, you
thought I
did?
did. I thought I did.
9 AM, April 20th, hearing date. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 9 AM it is.
My request on this is that if we do an annexation, and...
We do it before.
We do it before with a classification before. 'Cause I don't wanna have to do this levy thing where
Twice.
we do the levy,
Oh,
and then the prepay levy,
Yeah.
if we happen to do that.
We've done that on other projects.
Yeah.
I think it's the best thing, that way the people who have to pay for it have the voting power.
Yeah, this, it's a small enough area, it won't take much to do a reclassification. We'll base it on proposed improvements,
Mhm.
so.
Prior to
Yeah.
this hearing,
I'm not sure we can get it that quick.
that's what you're asking for?
Probably should, we should have it done before.
Kinda. I mean, just so,
So people are aware that they're being pulled into it,
Before the fact instead of after the fact.
right?
It won't be in final
What?
form because you have to do it and
I
then
can't see.
have a hearing 40 days later.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, but we could do a pre-class, which means we'd be within probably 5% of what they're gonna pay.
But if you don't have the annexation involved, I don't know if we're gonna be bringing in new landowners or just more acres.
We've reviewed this based on LiDAR, and we feel it's accurate. Mark Daggy thinks there's some other area that comes in.
Yeah, we mentioned that when he
Yeah,
was in here.
we don't see it. As soon as, we will know as far as annexation before the hearing, because we're gonna be out there doing the topo as soon as ground conditions allow.
So you'll know how many acres?
We'll know how many acres.
Well, and at that time, if you come in here and say, oh, we got another 300 acres, we're gonna annex it, 100 acres, we can,
That corner.
vote it down and
Yeah.
do it, restructure it
Yes.
at that time.
This is where Stockdale's used to live over here, remember that corner, I can't,
In
I don't know
all
if we can
fairness,
get to it.
you know,
I don't know,
protocol,
that's
all
what I'm
this
saying,
is,
but that,
the hearing,
this corner,
Yeah.
we're not 100% sure it's gonna go through
It
anything.
No,
doesn't
true,
see that one
very true.
We don't know.
part where it's
And that's
dark.
why you don't wanna spend
There's
too
a
much
dark
ahead of
spot in there
time.
even.
Yeah.
But, yeah,
And I don't know.
and I don't know, people,
this one
there's
could
a
be
farm
4 or
right
5
here,
bucks an acre
so
maybe, 'cause it's so small.
why they couldn't
But-
take, go across.
I mean, you see
Yeah.
the wisdom of knowing
Oh, yeah.
all that
this
into it?
before the fact instead of after the fact. like
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
Because that is,
Yeah, if we're gonna annex
This
it, it
ground
has
is-
to be done before.
We're doing more and more pre-classifications, just to get people a better idea of what they'll actually pay.
where you at?
And then
Right in here.
the topography
This right here.
of the boundary,
Mhm.
so.
Well, that's been kind of your protocol, like I
Yeah.
said.
I was just
Yeah.
saying, if you were
We're
gonna
planning
annex
on doing that, it may not be
maybe
official, but
interested
Right.
if we
And
Getting
do
some
that,
drainage
yeah.
for
Look
that,
at some
because that
surprise and
corner always
everybody
drowned
knows.
out.
Yeah,
Right.
Mhm.
Well, 'cause I'm, just as an example, when you said if a bigger chunk, for whatever reason, and it's a different landowner that's on the, or in the district today, makes a pretty big difference.
it does.
What road is
Because you always thought, oh, my water always went this way, and then the guy says, no,
This is,
no, like, quarter, like
gravel
6
road,
inches, now your water runs this way.
Runs.
And when you're gonna get charged $700 an acre, you get a little upset.
Yeah.
Two Dutch Park?
Yeah.
Runs down across.
So is that, this is all I...
No, we're
I mean, some
just-
want it, but some don't.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay, I know what
And
you're
like,
saying.
you wanna let them have their...
That mark, it's the other.
Yes.
It's,
Yep.
Oh, absolutely.
And I know we don't wanna get the cart too far before the horse, but you mentioned too, the road improvement project.
Yeah.
Right, the
It
next
should all
one.
be coordinated.
Yes,
Yeah.
Definitely should have been,
exactly.
yeah.
But that corner,
But,
Yeah, it's
corner
always,
is important.
if he's an open cut the road anyway,
Pump
let
it.
us open cut the
That's
tile
one of the
job
acres in
too.
there.
Yeah,
You know, you might change, you might move your tile
You got Thorson,
50,
that's under
100, 200
there.
feet one direction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's
Oh, yeah.
further around the
and that's
corner.
easy enough to do,
Yeah.
but that could save
Humphreys is up
$thousands.
here,
Mhm.
and you got Green.
Yeah,
I was just saying, if you're gonna annex something, they may be interested in
Well,
having the ability to drain the,
Public hearing,
That
this
makes
isn't a done
sense.
deal.
Thorson.
You might
Yeah.
be monstrous, it may not even be a project,
Right.
but that's why you got...
So do you contact those owners and see if they want to, or do you just do
Yeah.
it?
And Rick did make a good point of the expense of the, what do you call it?
Pre-class.
Or the annexation.
in the annexation.
Putting money towards something that, but you have to know that too, so.
Trish, how do you do an annexation? I mean, what is the protocol for?
If we find that an area, I'm sorry, jumped in.
No, go ahead.
If we find an area drains into this watershed and has not been included previously,
Mhm.
we do what's called an annexation report, where we determine what areas should be added, we file a report, notice is given, we have a hearing on it, so the people being annexed have a right to
Object
object.
or...
Okay. And if they do object, I mean, do they,
Typically, if there's an objection...
They do object quite often.
Yeah.
okay, that's, I kinda figure it's gonna cost them some money, so it's
Yeah.
Yeah,
gonna,
they're gonna object.
Yeah,
Now, Mark said he's talked to several of the landowners.
and feels it's
Feels
a
it's-
definite go, but
Mhm.
we'll see when they see the dollars.
Yeah.
yeah.
Typically, most of the time, we have enough evidence to justify that annexation, so that in that situation, the board would overrule the objections and proceed.
Okay, so if it, okay, as long as that water runs into this water, then
Yes.
it's, okay,
If it runs into the blue area but isn't included yet, we
Mhm.
get them in.
okay.
Or we make reductions on their property due to the fact that all their tile, subsurface goes a different direction,
Yeah.
but their surface water does come this way by, like I say, this stuff was surveyed back in 1907 or 16, whatever it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
And, we don't know
All
how much
done
that
on
guy was
horseback
drinking at the
with
time,
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah,
Perfect.
okay. Well,
We
thank you
got
for...
that, we'll see what happens.
There you go, perfect.
You got anything else? Just
I don't think
working
so.
on
A
this?
couple things with Trish and...
Carol, I think
Yeah.
it's got a little bit right there.
What?
Tell them about...
It's already in it.
It's already,
Oh.
you take more of this.
You haven't seen the petition though, have you?
No, I've heard...
The major landowner in 88 is telling us he's gonna submit a petition to drain
Is that area right
his
there?
mom's farm down into 13A. The surface water tends to get there now, you know where that is, up just north of town?
Mhm.
Yeah. And there is a lateral from 13A that heads that direction. Our concern is if he actually does this, how are we gonna minimize the effect on 13A? It's undersized, always has been, will be. So if a report is authorized, we'll look at ponding, doing some ponds to slow the water down, which will increase the cost of the project, but make it tolerable to the rest of the people in 13A. So, we haven't seen the petition, but
Is it possible to send out a different direction?
we'll look at that. I believe the elevations are gonna prohibit it, just the way things set. The natural flow is definitely to the south, but we'll look at elevations. We have enough information around the area, to help make that decision.
Do you have the ability, you said ponding, is there area up there you could use for that?
Yes, absolutely. North of the old railroad bed, there's a ravine that comes down. I remember a few years ago, I walked up that trail, thinking I could go down and below the trail and investigate pipes and everything. But the edges of that is almost like a cliff. You get down...
Get back up?
You might not go back up. So, there's a ravine there that would work pretty well to do some ponding. And several years ago, Daggy looked at possibility of getting some funds for that, and that fell through, so... This would be a way to make it happen with the people being drained paying for it, so... I believe you're gonna see something on it, it's just a matter of when.
Okay.
How much of 13A is this gonna affect? Just the
Everything...
north half?
No, actually, well, the north half is gonna help pay the ones that are on the lateral, the south half's gonna get the water.
Mhm.
This lateral comes down and connects to the main just east of the fire station out there, in the north of the highway. Can't remember what lateral that is, but, comes through that, the trail, and then connects to the main that runs east-west, south
On the
of
highway.
Highway, yeah.
Well, isn't that one the city already has issues with?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I
Well, Rick
remember-
made mention it's all undersized, system.
Yeah,
And that's the one that fills the basements along
yeah.
Second Street.
I'd be
Mhm.
tickled to hear that.
Oh, yeah.
Make sure you put that as headline news.
Oh, my gosh.
That should make,
I was in around with Mark Daggy when I first got here, so I've been around too, I guess.
I remember having the hearings at the fire station to have room, because it was half the city. And I'm
And
still,
it's
yeah,
it's gonna be a booger.
Oh,
Still maybe that
They
would
were
be
really
really
surprised, it's just a
Oh.
tremendous amount of landowners.
And
Oh.
just trying to,
Yeah,
Well, we took it off of the, Dakota City took it off and put it down to the east.
yeah, that actually helped 13A a lot.
Mhm.
It really did.
And this here will put us probably back to where it was before.
If we don't get
Worse or
pond
worse.
retainage, yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. So that, I'm hoping we get that report to do, and not that I'm looking forward to the report, but at least we know the situation with 13A and the district to the north, and have a lot of information to draw on.
I wish it could go north.
We'll absolutely look at that. Yeah,
By all means.
yeah,
And like I said, just have to see how it shakes out.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Rick.
You bet.
Saturday, Mike Borland is meeting here at the courthouse with a couple landowners from the, whatever they're gonna call it, if they call it a
No,
drainage
don't have a
district.
title yet.
Yeah, that one,
That's
Over west?
Saturday?
Saturday, 10 o'clock,
This Saturday.
the 14th. And if you guys plan to attend, I need to know so I can put it on the agenda.
Well, how else are they gonna get in if somebody doesn't come? Are you coming?
Magic.
Or-
The door here. Yes, somebody will be here.
Okay.
Are you going to IDDA meeting then?
That's Thursday. That's, Rockwell City.
Rockwell City. Why was I thinking on that? Okay.
Yeah.
I won't be able to be here, I mean,
Are you gonna go?
Yes.
Saturday?
Oh, that's be right
thinking
now.
Grandma.
Well, that's
Good. You?
I think I'll have to look, I don't think I'm gonna be anywhere this week, so I could probably come up here.
So 10 o'clock Saturday morning.
I'll see where I'm at.
I don't even know where I'm at.
I'll still.
I'm saying Grandma.
trying to get face-to-face information to each one.
It is.
Like I said, a landowner recently passed away on, another parcel, so it'll kind of be held up a little bit, I'm sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, means we're, I imagine, in drainage, 'cause we have John here. We should probably stay in drainage to look through his information.
Thanks, Rick.
You bet, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll give him the hot seat.
I know, it always works out.
He worked for me.
Do you want
John?
the seat or?
Morning. You take notes.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, you're gonna take notes of this.
Rick and I have been on the same schedule, and been following each other around.
Oh, yeah. You're gonna work with one, huh?
I think I've seen him 3 times in the last 2 weeks.
I'm interested if he says the same thing to you guys as he does.
Yeah, you let us know if he just makes it up as he goes along.
You wanna cup of coffee, John?
I will.
Instead of springing forward, I think I sort of fell forward. I was, a little caffeine. I couldn't figure out why it was so dark this morning. I thought, oh,
Yeah.
Now I know.
Thought you were
I know.
black hole was flaring out.
Cloudy and rainy out, it's
Getting up this
extra dark.
morning.
Yeah.
I'll take the rain over the other.
I forgot that it's like
True,
that
me too.
in the mornings when you spring forward. I'm like, oh, man.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's, good to be here. As per usual, it seems like we have a lot going on with drainage, so I'll try to bring you up to speed on some of the things we're working on. First of all, I wanna talk a little bit about, waters of the United States and where we are with respect to that issue. You're probably tired of hearing about it, but I keep thinking it'll go away, and it doesn't go away. Give you a little bit of history. For a long time, what regulation said was that EPA and the Corps of Engineers had the ability to regulate navigable waters, and navigable was the key term. And that's a term that's usually has a business connotation, barges and things like that. the Obama administration came along and changed the regulation and took the word navigable out. So the regulation then said that EPA could regulate any water. EPA got sued the next day. A federal judge stayed the implementation of the rule. But it was a district decision, so the stay did not cover the entire United States. So we had a situation for a few years where some states enforced the rule and other states did not. And Iowa was one of the states that did not enforce the rule. So you went along like that for a few years, and the Trump administration comes in, and one of the first things that EPA does under the Trump administration is announce that we're going to change the regulation back to the old regulation. We're going to put the word navigable back in. That has happened. That's done. That took effect earlier this year. It took 3 years, almost, to get that done. But as you know, there's always a however. The however is, the Trump administration says, we also need to do our own new rule, because of some of the things the Supreme Court has done. We need to clarify what the authority of the EPA is. So they came out with a new rule about a year ago, and they said, we want to, the stated intent was that anybody should be able to read our new rule and decide whether you're covered or not. Well, in my humble estimation, they did not meet that intent. Because drainage, and whether drainage was covered under the new rule, in other words, whether you all, acting as trustees, would have to get a Clean Water Act permit for a drainage project, was not clear in the new rule. You could read parts of it that said clearly you're not, you could read other parts of it that said, yeah, maybe we are. So, that rule was proposed. They took public comment on the rule until last April, and IDDA did comment, and we asked counties to comment also. And then, you know, the way the federal regulatory process works, they take comment, and once the comment period is closed, they're supposed to review all those comments and issue the final rule. My understanding was that they received around 750,000 comments nationally. They say they read all those. I don't know how you read 750,000 comments, but, you know, whatever. I'm just telling you what they say. So then, once that period ends, they issue the final rule. And that final rule has been issued. And that came out about a month ago. And we're still trying to dissect that, and I'm still talking to experts to figure out what it means. My take at this point is that I think it's pretty clear with respect to repairs that you all are okay. You're not gonna have to have a Clean Water Act permit to do a drainage repair. It's business as usual, which is good news. When you get into the area improvements, because of the scope of the improvements and what an improvement usually involves, you may be in Clean Water Act permit territory. And that's gonna be a case-by-case situation. It's gonna depend on where the project is and what kind of waters are affected by that project, because some of those waters affected by the project may be waters covered under the Clean Water Act, and if the waters are affected, your drainage improvement's gotta be affected. So it is, I think, going to be a case-by-case situation, which your poor engineer, as I told Rick last week, is probably gonna have to figure out on an improvement project, every time they do an improvement, whether there's gonna be coverage under the Clean Water Act, and that is going to mean, contact with the Corps of Engineers and possible contact with the EPA and
Added cost to the landowners.
cost, of course, time, probably time more than cost, but time is cost, of course. And then the possibility of having to go to DNR to get a Clean Water Act permit. So that's sort of where things stand now. The other thing I can say is that anytime there's a substantial new regulation, there's lawsuits filed. And that's exactly what happened the last time, and there was a federal judge that stayed the implementation. That could happen again. Hasn't happened yet. But, you know, I don't think this is something that's going to happen tomorrow, but technically the new rule is in effect with publication, and I'm not sure if it's actually been published yet, but if it hasn't, it will be. And my understanding from what I've read is that there's been several lawsuits filed. So it could be slowed down, I don't know, and we'll just keep you all posted as we move forward.
Would we, like the southern part of Iowa, when you talk to some of them supervisors down there that say, well, we only have like 3 or 4 drainage districts, and
Yeah, they don't.
they don't even know, deal with that, already have drainage. I mean, that's,
And I could see where every one of our projects would fit the bill for affecting water, because they all dump into a river,
Probably so.
you know, eventually, you know, at some point.
Yeah, the term they use a lot is nexus. So if you have a nexus, a connection, probably gonna be an impact.
Yeah.
Secondly, I'll talk about an issue it's an issue that's been around as long as I've been executive director of IDDA, and I started in May of 2001, so I can tell you it's been around a while, and it's just another one of those issues that doesn't go away, and it's the issue of the Fish and Wildlife Service and drainage assessments. And I don't know if this is a situation in your county, but I know a lot of counties, we have situations where, you know, for whatever reason, there's an assessment done, a repair assessment, or improvement assessment, and Fish and Wildlife Service has property in that county and property in the drainage district, and they will not pay those assessments. And of course, what happens as a result of that is that everybody else has to pay more due to the fact that somebody in that district did not pay. Fish and Wildlife Service claims, and from what I've seen, they're probably on legal ground, with a court decision, in terms of, not paying for those assessments. There was a legal opinion floating around a few years from an attorney here in Iowa that told counties that, well, if you pass a resolution and you call it a service fee instead of a tax, or a user charge instead of a tax, that will work, and it doesn't. You can call it Mike. You can call it anything you want, and it's still an assessment. And, I had conversations with, one of our members over in, Potawatomi County, who is, very active in NACO. And he had the NACO, staff person, do some research on the issue, and they actually talked to the lead attorney for EPA. And the decision, what they got back, what NACO received back, was that the only way that Fish and Wildlife Service has the legal obligation to pay an assessment of that sort is if the project involves pollution control or abatement. And drainage district projects don't involve pollution control or abatement. Which was made clear, very clear in the Waterworks decision in federal district court. So, that brings us to where we are now, and what I can tell you is I've been having conversations with Senator Grassley's staff to see if there's a way we can get at this problem. And this has probably been ongoing for 6 months now, maybe longer than that. And the first thing that Senator Grassley's staff wanted to do was, you know, we need to find out if this issue is bigger than just drainage, and if there's other kinds of similar issues across the United States in areas where they don't have drainage districts, that they're facing some of the problems, and the research first thing she did was, she said, I want to see if Fish and Wildlife Service still contends they don't have to pay, and the answer to that was yes, they are still contending they don't have to pay. Second thing she says, we have to determine what the scope of the problem is, and they determined, secondly, that the scope is bigger than just drainage, or that there are other issues across the country with similar types of assessment that Fish and Wildlife Service is not paying. So, that led to last week where I had where Doug Stryker's our legal counsel, and I had a conference call with 2 members of Senator Grassley's staff, and we talked for about 45 minutes, and that call concluded, and they said, well, we need to figure out how we're going to approach this, and you'll hear back from us soon. And I haven't heard back yet, but I assume I'll do so in the next couple of weeks. From what Doug has told me in his research, this probably takes a change from federal law, which is, obviously not an easy thing to do. My hope is that we can get Senator Grassley personally interested in the issue. I know that there has been counties that have talked to him about it. Senator Grassley does own farmland. He is in a drainage district. He understands drainage assessments because he's paid them. And he understands what happens to him when other landowners in the district don't pay those assessments. So he should have a very clear understanding of the issue. So the hope is that we can involve him personally somehow in the process and impact change that way. So we continue to work this process. Senator Grassley's staff has been marvelous to work with, very responsive to questions. And so right now, we're waiting to hear back and see what they recommend as the next course of action. So we'll keep you all posted on that. Last thing I'll talk about is the state legislature. And this has been a far busier year than I thought it would be, actually, in the state legislature, because we have some legislators out there who on their own volition have decided that there needed to be changes in drainage law, and some of those changes were not for the best. So we've had to play a little bit more defense this year than we normally do. But I'm pleased to say that some of the proposals that we saw coming through that really needed a lot more talk and really needed a lot more conversation and really needed a lot more work before they were workable legislation, did get pushed to the side. There was a bill that came out earlier in the session that did a number of things, and frankly, I didn't understand a lot of the bill, and I felt bad that I didn't understand it. And then I talked to the attorney for the farm bureau. She said, I've read this bill for four hours, and I still don't understand what they're trying to do. So I didn't feel so bad at that point. They took the word remonstrance and changed it to objection, which is fine, I guess. And then they went in and they changed the 70% threshold, property threshold for remonstrance to 50%, which is a huge change. And they did some, and this is the part I didn't understand, they got into this whole thing about there's going to be major repairs and minor repairs, and the board has the authority to determine whether a repair is a major repair or a minor repair. And then there's going to be major improvements and minor improvements. And you all have the ability to determine whether an improvement is a major improvement or a minor improvement. Well, my way of thinking, if you're doing a drainage improvement, it's major. I mean, I don't know of a minor drainage improvement. And so you all have to have a cost estimate before you proceed, but it doesn't say anything in the law about where you would get this cost estimate. And you wouldn't have to involve an engineer until you got to $350,000. So we're...
They threw something in there about using a conservation...
Yeah, using a...
instead of an engineer.
Yeah. That bill needed a lot of work, and it had a lot of policy changes, and, where that stands right now is that it was tabled, and, the legislators that were involved in this issue have indicated that they wanna have informal discussions about it this summer. And I guess the key thing, from our consideration, the main policy change there was the 70%, and secondly, this idea that we're no longer gonna have remonstrance, we're gonna have objections, and what is the impact of that, and what does that mean, and how does that play out in the drainage world? And, you know, I can understand at some level why somebody would have a concern about the 70% remonstrance level, and, you know, obviously, if you're on the wrong side of that, you wanna see that change, but I guess the point is, no matter where you set that level, somebody's always gonna be on the wrong side of it.
Yeah, but they said that
I mean,
they said that 50%,
Yeah.
that's basically a tie.
Mhm.
So then, who decides whether it's gonna go through or not?
Yeah, if you want to put a halt to drainage improvements, that'd be a good way to do it.
And things have changed, you know, from the time that they wrote the code.
Yeah,
Farming practices and how large of areas
Mhm.
each farmer has.
yeah.
I can see why they're concerned. That, I think it still should be 70.
Mhm. So, we'll be talking about that. The key, legislative priority that IDDA carried into the session is still very much alive. It did pass the House last week.
Good.
Goes over to the Senate now, and that's the bill that currently state law says if you're doing a classification or reclassification, you have to not only do all the regular notification that you have to do to the landowners and send all that out, that you have to publish all that detail, in a newspaper, and that, of course, is a fairly substantial cost, which is passed back to the landowners, like every other drainage cost. So you're hearing we have a situation where the landowners are paying thousands of dollars, for having information published that they've already received.
Yeah.
And, so we have legislation that remedies that, appears to be in pretty good shape right now. Passed the House last week, as I said, is over in the Senate. We've got a companion bill in the Senate, so we can move those around. And we feel pretty good about that right now.
That's something we discussed at the drainage clerk's meeting.
Yeah, the proposal actually originated with the drainage clerk.
Some counties have 3 papers they have to publish in,
Yeah.
so it gets pretty expensive.
When I had to publish for 13A, we did it through the paper, and it was astronomical.
We did not,
Page upon page.
we did not in any way, shape, or form want to impede people's ability to get information. But we put safeguards in the bill.
It's still all public knowledge.
It's
They
still
just need to
public
come up and
knowledge,
ask.
it's still mailed to them. Law says you have to be on the website, has to be available in the auditor's office, somebody walks in and asks for it, all of which is...
If they wanna find out what their neighbor's assessment is, they can go and ask.
John?
Yes.
In relationship to your, legislative stuff, there was something a while back, we get updates on, you know, what they're working on towards through the session. Was there something in there, was it the one they killed? I don't know, but there was talk of raising, repairs. We can get a repair up to $50,000 without any...
They were thinking about raising it to 300,000.
Was it 300, or was that, way back towards the beginning of the
In the
session, it was
same
100,000?
Actually, last week, in this same bill, this House file that is IDDA's priority, House File 2552, there's an amendment added to that bill, on the House side, so the bill goes over to the House with that amendment that has a provision that says $50,000 or the, competitive bid threshold, which is, I think, $140,000. So there is that flexibility in the bill that went over to the House.
Yeah, so I mean, for us, it's a repair, not an improvement.
Right.
that we can go past 50
Mm-hmm.
on one repair project
Mhm.
without...
Yes, and that's on that bill, yes.
That is in that bill?
Yes.
So that's still ongoing?
Yes,
That didn't
it
get
is.
nixed?
Yes.
Okay, and that will bump it to 100
Well, competitive bid threshold, which is a moving number, is set by the state agency right now, I think it's 141 or 142,000.
Okay. So maybe 140, give
Yeah.
or take?
Yeah,
That's set by who?
I'd have to look. I don't-
Okay.
I don't know.
That would be helpful as the cost of repair projects are going
Sure,
up.
yeah,
You know, just the ditch cleaning,
yeah,
that
I know,
you could get more done in one project.
right. That was something that the IDDA board, took action on earlier this year, so we've been trying to move that at the same time, and just due to the mysteries of the legislative process, they decided to combine those bills, which is fine for us.
Okay. And obviously, district, the association's keeping an eye on that.
Oh, yes.
We'll send word when this all
Yes.
gets finalized,
Very
and
much
what they
so.
do pass,
Yes.
and what they don't
Yes.
pass. and
Yes.
We'll kinda know moving forward.
Yep.
So that'll change in the code then?
Mm-hmm.
Will you send out a code section change, or
Can, certainly, yeah.
from the books that were published before?
Oh, that I don't know about,
Or should I just?
that would be up to the board when we do the next budget, whether we're gonna put money in the budget to have those pages redone, which is about last time we did it was, I don't know, $2,500, $3,000, and, with a tight budget, it's a little difficult sometimes, so we'll see.
And maybe we can just email out the change to
Yeah,
Yeah.
the drainage people we know of.
yeah.
That would be great. Sorry.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming up.
All right, thank you for all you do and the fun...
Thank you for the time.
Did you and Rick get your schedule straightened out, so you
I don't know, we were just
going now?
coordinating, I think.
Carpooling?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, John.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, John. See you in Rockwell City.
Yeah.
Is that it?
You have anything?
I said, is that it in drainage?
Yes, being for in drainage?
Unless you wanna bring up and visit about, Ben's here, about that.
We could, if it does involve drainage.
It is drainage.
And that is to the effect of, if dirt, for the lack of a better word, is needed to, fill in on a drainage district project, and the county has it available, and it's not gonna infringe on a county project, that then there's no charge for the dirt. They can get the dirt, they can use the dirt.
Right. Typically, what we've done, I guess, in the past 3 or 4 years is, allow these contractors access to our dirt piles. When they're doing tile repair or maintenance projects, usually they need 1-2 loads of dirt, nothing major. So they've had ample access to any of our piles. The only time that we've charged them is if we have to bring a piece of equipment in to load their trucks, then we charge them our time and material for that. This last one, I didn't know anything about it. My foreman came in on, what was that, Tuesday, I think, and said, hey, did you know so-and-so was set up at our pile with an excavator and hauled half the pile out of there? Well, I went up and looked later, it wasn't half, but, I said, no, I didn't know anything about it. I talked to Trish, she knew that, a contractor had a project up there, but didn't know if he was up there working on it. So I talked to the contractor, he said, yeah, we were up there, but, him and I had a short conversation, and he's just gonna notify me from now on when he...
You should be
needs
notified.
access.
I mean, that's only...
And that's all we're asking,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, in the off chance that we would've had a bridge or a box culvert project in that area,
Mhm.
I would've asked him to get the dirt from a different location.
Yeah.
Just
Great.
a little bit of
Communication.
communication, and he might have to haul it a little bit further, or if we already had plans for the dirt, I understand.
And typically, we're not talking as large of an amount as what...
This is a very unusual case.
Yeah, this was like I think he said 15 side dump loads or something like that.
That's a lot of dirt.
So, I mean, that's like 30 tandem axle trucks.
Mhm.
It was quite a washout, and so.
It was Trish's fault.
I didn't.
You let the hose run.
But, like Ben said, it's normally a couple dump trucks, because they have a bigger, they get the tile repaired, and it's bigger washout, and there's available dirt in the area.
Yep.
But I think that notifying even that,
Even if they're coming to get one load, they
Yeah,
should.
they
should. I think so, too.
because
Otherwise, you know, somebody else drives by, hey, so-and-so's grabbing dirt, you know.
Yeah, I need some dirt in my yard.
And certainly, and I think everybody's been pretty much on the same page, a little shaky on the communication, that certainly if they go, I'm just thinking that, isn't Hardy's like right next to the shop?
Hardy is next to the
And obviously, if the contractor needs to go and he calls Denny and, yeah, it takes a half hour of the county's time and labor, yes, they're gonna have to add that, because, you know, the county loaded it. If they didn't have one of these equipment. Just to keep the communication so everybody's on the same page.
Well, and, you know, and the main thing is to coordinate it with them.
Yes.
Right.
You know, especially if they're wanting our equipment.
Well, obviously,
Right.
someone will know if they call up and say, hey, we need 2 loads of dirt, we got a bigger hole than we thought, is there gonna be somebody around to load it? Well, duh, you know about it. But
Right.
sometimes if they load it themselves, as in this case, still need to be notified.
Yeah.
It's fine if they load it themselves, but you have to know.
Right. I mean, where it would've caught us is if we'd had a...
You had a project out there and all of a sudden the dirt's gone, so now I gotta go
Now we-
15 miles away to get dirt.
Yep.
So.
Trish, should we send a letter out to all of our contractors just stating that, hey, just for future reference, you know, we need to be notified if you're gonna be taking from our dirt pile to get a hold of somebody, or if you need help or something?
If you
I mean, would it
request it,
be-
you should request it through that
Through
office.
Through our office.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
And I really think most of them are aware of that.
probably, but I mean, little reminders don't hurt. I mean, I don't know how many I don't know how many contractors we have, but
Yeah,
And it's
that we
usually a
use.
couple, 3.
I mean, that's what I mean, so
Right.
5 letters, that doesn't amount to that much work.
But it still doesn't hurt, just on the outside chance that we may never see
Oh, yeah.
14 side
Yeah.
dumps.
I mean,
Yep,
most
yeah,
of them have
email.
email accounts.
Yep, either email or mail.
Okay.
You know, and both times, just because, you know, sheer amount that they were taking, I think we did bill them for the dirt. If it's a load or two, we have not typically.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of who the contractor was. I think it was Rick Peterson was doing the project. And he had, not you, yeah, the other Rick.
You don't do that kind of project.
No.
You're out moonlighting
But he had,
at night?
he had John Tag haul it, so, and I think he had dirt figured in his bid, so I think he paid us for the dirt.
Well, I think what it amounts to is, like everyone's mentioned, is a communication. So, like you said, we don't seem to have a shortage of dirt. But, like you said, if it's a pile and no one knows but you, there's a huge box culvert project that we don't wanna run short in that area, that's where you need a notification. As far as the charge for dirt, I don't think is applicable. I think the notification is.
So far, we haven't charged for dirt, but like I said, so far, for the most part, most of these repairs are a load or two.
Right. I don't think we put a quantity on it, I think we put the notification to make sure it's not, you know, they call, say, what do you think you're gonna need? Well, I'm gonna need half that pile. Well, you could get a little here, a little there, and a little there if you wanna do that. You can't get it all from there.
I'll say, there should be a stipulation, if we're talking that amount of dirt, there should be a stipulation. I mean, we've got a cost associated with that dirt.
You do. And, you know, I'm probably fine with that.
You know, like, and we don't have to set the limit right now, but I mean, 15 side dump loads is
It's a lot of
a
dirt.
lot of dirt.
But I still am not favorable of charging for the dirt. I'm more favorable for
But we
the...
can charge them for the trucking we had, getting the dirt there.
Yeah, like I said.
Because we had an expense put in there.
There's an expense to get it to that pile, to dig it, to haul it.
I know, I can see your point, Eric, but like you say, especially, well, the case with Peterson, where he was gonna in turn charge someone else for the dirt, and he's getting dirt.
No, there's a...
And I don't know Marcel's bid to repair this. I don't know if
Yeah.
he's charging for the dirt.
No,
I mean, that's gotta be up and down the line. There's no charge for the dirt, period.
Right.
I mean, yeah, by all means, you can't go get it from a county stockpile and charge the drainage district for it. I mean, the
Well,
contract...
that's my point, I don't know what
They,
Marshall's...
absolutely not, absolutely not.
Right.
That's no way. But on the same token, you know, it did save the district for these repair costs, because if they get it, if they say they had their own private stockpile, they're certainly gonna charge for that dirt. And it's a bit of a way to help back to these, you know, repair areas and projects where they don't get charged. They're gonna get charged for the trucking, you know, true, but I just don't like to see, I like the communication part of it versus putting if it's thus amount, then it's gonna be, you know, a charge. But a couple loads, which normally it is, I just like the communication part that, hey, if you're gonna get a bunch, we better know, and, you know, you may have to go over here and get it.
Well, it can be as simple as, if you're gonna grab dirt from our pile and it's that large of amount, we don't get an assessment bill. Because I turn around and get an assessment bill for that project that Marshall's working on, and we supplied the dirt. So we're getting double dipped.
Yeah.
Well, there again, depending on the project probably, but it's still, to me, it's kind of, the dirt came from the county, we're putting back in the county, it is a drainage district, it's not a private project. The contractor cannot benefit by free dirt, make sure of that, and I'd just like to make sure the communication lines are open. Normally, that's not a big deal, it's really not, there's no sense in blowing it out of proportion.
No, this is the first instance that I know of that has happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just don't wanna set a precedent of charging for dirt that essentially probably came out of a drainage district someplace and charged to put it back in there. So, that's my take on it.
I agree with that.
And I agree with Sandy and anybody else that said communication, let them know, because that would be the worst case scenario. A big amount got removed from a pile that you needed a big amount from for a project. That's, you know, we don't want that to happen.
I mean, that's what the piles are there.
Right, but there again, so I just like to say, keep the communication open, do not charge for the dirt, there's other ways around it. I think that's more fair protocol. And obviously, we will check on the contractor side, no way in heck are they, you know, got dirt from a pile and charge the district for it, period.
It might have hauling.
They can charge for the hauling, but they can't charge for the dirt.
I wouldn't know by looking at their bills where they got their dirt from.
That's what I was wondering, how are you gonna know?
I know.
Who got
Are they
dirt and who
usually
didn't?
lump sum, or are they itemized?
Pins.
I mean, if it's a lump sum, you won't know whether you're paying for that dirt again.
No, you won't.
Mhm.
But that's the communication as the trustees to the contractors, that, and then like I say, we're normally talking a couple loads, because it's a bigger bid.
Typically, yes.
And, you know, check and see, make sure it's okay, and this is not, this dirt you got for free. If you have to charge $100 to truck it out to put it in the fix, the trucking is fine. You do not profit from the dirt.
And that needs to probably put in that letter then, too.
They know.
You're gonna-
They know. Sometimes they just...
So, do they?
They do. They know. Sometimes they have to be reminded. And in this case,
Well, that's right,
this
that's what this letter's
contractor...
about, is a reminder.
What?
That's what this letter's about, is a reminder to these people. I'm sorry, I think,
So is it basically, is this letter basically saying it's up to the discretion of the secondary roads? On,
As far as which pile they haul out of.
Right.
Yeah.
so they need to contact them for
Every time they go to,
further,
if they want dirt, they need to talk to Ben before they take it.
Well, I assume when that job was handed out, that he told you there's a huge washout, I'm gonna need a lot of dirt. Where am I gonna get this dirt from? Did he ask? I'm assuming? Yeah. Well, then how did we find out that he took 15 loads of dirt? He should have been able to say it's gonna take 15, 20 loads of dirt.
I'm sure.
I'm gonna call Ben.
I'm sure it's because he's used county piles before, he just figured he could.
Well, then I guess the thing comes back full circle, that if it's gonna take 15 loads of dirt, we need to know that, where that dirt came from. We aren't gonna pay for dirt that we already own,
Right.
and he's not gonna bill us
Bingo,
for the dirt.
bingo.
The hauling, I can see.
The breakdown of communication was, the bigger amount should have been notified. He could have easily called the shop, he could have called you, he could have called anyone. And you could say,
Any amount should be,
getting a big amount here.
Yeah.
you gotta-
any amount, even if
We
it's
moved
load,
dirt.
it should be, he should be communicated,
Because
and they need to know that they can't charge for that. They can
Yeah,
charge for the
we
hauling,
got a project
but they
up the
can't
road,
charge for the
literally.
dirt towards the project.
Yeah.
You just don't take
They
it,
don't.
not tell
I mean,
Right,
It isn't-
Your neighbor's taking his...
it's called being professional.
When we moved dirt from west of town, didn't you dump some out Sheldon Park, 'cause they needed some dirt there?
We did.
Yeah, so the conservation board got ahold of Ben and said, here, we need some dirt to fill in some low spots, so he hauled
Yeah.
it, 'cause we were already moving.
Yeah, I think we hauled 50 or 70 loads over there for them
So-
to fill in low spots.
We have a lot of
It's workable.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, we were, it's routine ditch maintenance for
Yeah.
the most part, reestablishing drainage from the roadway. In that instance with conservation, it saved us probably 15 minutes around,
Mhm.
not having to drive through town to our stockpile and...
And we already had a pretty adequate
Our pile
stockpile.
was large enough
Mhm.
for our future projects, so...
Okay.
this
All
will-
right. Well, let's move on.
Okay.
Beat this dirty horse for a while. Let's move
You
on.
ready to leave us?
yeah.
Yep, Rick's had enough.
I'll make a motion to go to drainage.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, out of drainage. There you go.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Put a real stern letter together.
Oh, yeah, I'm good at stern letters.
This is agenda item, we're past 9:30, but Don Reefer is unable to be here.
Oh, do you have that bill,
Which one?
the dirt bill?
Yes, the dirt.
Thanks. We'll get rid of it.
Well, thank you. Oh, wait a minute, wrong message. From Don, he apologizes for not being able to be here today. I won't go into any detail, I know it's personal matters. Where he will be doing brush control in the drainage ditches will be the northwest third of the county this year. And it's always been split into thirds, so northwest third this year, brush control in the drainage districts in that area.
Northwest.
Northwest third.
So, we put that public so that they know that...
Typically,
people are
yeah,
out
Don
there.
is, yeah, he actually even, I think he contacts the auditor's office, he usually contacts me, that is, it physically in my area. Just the things there is, you know, obviously they go out in the drainage ditches and get the brush control done, so that landowners are aware, so.
Well, they pull out there, somebody sees them out thinking they're trespassing,
Exactly, that's, yeah.
or they're wearing the garb and they're out with the
Yeah.
spray and stuff.
And they're very conscientious, they don't go out and tear up fields, they go when the conditions are
They're
out.
hunting mushrooms or
Doing
stealing my
something.
asparagus or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So, at any rate, that is the northwest third brush control drainage ditches this year.
Might wanna repeat that when Peggy gets back, so it's on record.
Okay. I will do just that.
Welcome back.
Thank you. It was a long time.
Yeah.
Ben's back, okay.
Just wanted to mention, are we on and official here, that
Should be.
okay. Don Reefers apologized for not being able to be here today, and, I was just telling everybody that the, brush control is always split into thirds in the drainage districts. This year, it will be the northwest third area of the county, where he will be doing the brush control in the drainage districts.
Okay.
Okay.
That is that, we got that taken care of. Well, Ben, it looks like we can approve the contracts and bonds and all the rest of that fun stuff. Same one we've been working with, right?
Yes, this is the bridge for the northeast part of the county. We awarded the contract to Merriman Bridge last week. This is the follow-up to approved contracts and bonds with Merriman Bridge Company for the same project number, the BROS-SWAP-CO46, Heron 73, /SE-46. We've got the contract that Eric and Peggy signed last week. This is the follow-up. This is their performance bond, their insurance, listing Humboldt County as an additional insured.
Okay, if everything's in order, I'll make a motion to approve the contracts and bonds.
Okey-dokey.
Second, I'll go ahead.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Bond approved.
So did you have to sign that electronically then?
We will.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I just wondered if you're,
He had,
if he was still in
Florida, so he was having trouble,
all right.
getting all of his documentation loaded onto the computer as far as his bonds, his insurance, his list of subcontractors. So, yeah, I'll get with Dave after the meeting.
So he gets it all back and loaded back, and then
I just wanted to see if the time frame, since you've done it last time, if you still were able to log in, do it, and no hiccups, because the mess you had trying to get it started.
Yeah.
Cool.
The second item on the agenda is to approve plans and specifications and set a bid letting date for the two local box culvert projects. I've proposed the 31st at 10 a.m. if that works. It's a Tuesday, I believe.
Yes, March 31st?
March 31st.
Yep, it's a Tuesday.
I know Peggy and I were talking about that, being that we don't take any official action, we were wondering if we have to have more than 3 people here, or 3 or more people here.
I don't think we have in the past.
I don't think so, it's
No.
just whoever can make it.
Yeah, whoever, if they're interested, they can show up.
that's gonna be up here.
10 a.m.?
It'll be up here at 10
Are
a.m.
Are these lumped together for one?
These are tied together for, it's 2 separate contracts, but the projects are tied together, so it'll be one
So you're looking
contractor.
for one bid then?
I'm looking for one contractor for both jobs.
Okay,
Yep.
that's, no, I think Rick's right, we've always done this, made notice when the bid letting's gonna be, but it's really,
Whoever can make it.
yeah, it isn't, yeah, it doesn't have to come in technically before the board.
Right,
The bid
yeah,
letting.
that'll be on Monday,
Right,
the following Monday.
so that's gonna be,
Any motion for that?
Yes, please.
I'll make a motion to set, 10 a.m. for LC 1700604 and LC 183001.
I'll second.
any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I have 3 sets of each of these for you guys' signatures, and 2 for Peggy.
And these both then would be at whoever gets the bid. You'd have a time frame that they, early date, late
So,
date?
I'm looking at, late start date for the middle of September for the 1830-01,
Middle September?
and, beginning of October for the 1706-04.
And they would be timeframe,
Timeframe for,
couple of weeks?
Couple of weeks.
I'd say probably 2 weeks for the 17 project, and a week, I would think, for the 18
Yeah,
project.
that one's gonna,
So it's 6 by 6,
take
it's,
too long.
it's just south of Gosh Park Bridge, as you're getting ready to go up the hill towards
Right.
Erickson's.
Right there, well,
Um,
basically at the bottom of that hill, isn't it?
Yeah, so the bid price should be relatively cheap from Forterra, I would think.
Not shipping it very far.
Yeah, yeah, they could
The freight shipment-
they could probably wheel it right out to them with the forks. But that's similar to the project that we did down, by Seavers Griffith, which that contractor knocked that project out in like 3 days.
Wow.
So I'm hoping that that one goes as fast,
Main
because
road.
that's a very busy road.
Yeah, well,
It is, it's real busy.
on that one, let's go ahead and barricade that gravel road.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, because
That
we'll
could
have
help.
somebody to look at that and say, well, I can make that corner up there with a
Yep,
load of pipe and end up in the ditch, 'cause I seen a guy do it with a long beam one time. He couldn't make the corner and ended up down, and we ended up having to fish
Just the
that.
front page.
In that one?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
that's a good idea.
Even if it's only a couple of days, it'd be well worth it.
Well, and the people that live down there would be really happy with that too.
Start passing them
I don't
out.
know.
We'll let them know ahead of time. The third item that I have on is to set a date and time for the public hearing for fiscal year 2021, secondary road construction program, or our 5-year plan. We've had a couple work sessions on that, pulling that together, and I've got the 5-year plan and budget pretty well pulled together for DOT approval. It's just setting a date for that hearing. I have to advertise for it, I believe, so the earliest I can do is probably 23rd.
Different spots.
March,
March 23rd.
No, we have a,
on a budget at 8:45, but that should, unless you have a whole bunch of people, it shouldn't take
a
long.
good day for public hearings.
Eric's got...
Do you have any problem with that?
No, of course.
We went
Maybe
9,
8:45?
8:45? Hey, you're optimistic, they're gonna,
Thanks,
we're
Paul.
I'm going off of past history.
I know.
Yeah.
We're gonna shoot for 8:45?
On the 23rd?
Is that what the discussion is?
Mhm.
That works?
That's
I'll
only
make the
10
motion.
minutes for the budget.
Yeah, there's usually goes open hearing, close the hearing.
Okay, I'm just, I wanna cut ourselves short. Not...
Worst case scenario, it starts at 8:50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll make the motion for the 23rd at 8:45.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I don't have it.
35.
Read that black book, Rick. I got side notes and stars and all kinds of stuff here that I gotta transpose, and she's over here working this. I'm gonna have to go modern one of these
That's a nice
days.
thing, if your battery doesn't die, you got it there.
Yeah.
You got it
I
written
make sure
down.
on Monday morning it's full.
You can lose your notes, I've done that before, and I'm kinda like, what notebook did I put that in? Or like Bruce said, leave it on the table or somewhere else.
Well, you're here, thank you from the ladies upstairs, you and Dave and whoever else helped, 'cause I got a text last Monday after you helped unload that truck. She was very, very thankful.
Good.
You guys helped, and
Yeah,
a couple fill-ins for,
I have no problem.
well, they appreciated it very much, so.
Probably the best exercise I got on
Well, it kinda gives you, it's one of those deals, in the wintertime, it's usually cold, the wind blows through there, and then in the summertime, it's like 110 degrees out there, and you're
Mhm.
anxious to get back into the air conditioner, but they did appreciate it very much, so.
Yes, no problem. The only other thing I wanted to let you guys know is I did hear back, we did not receive funding for Murray Bridge project.
No, we didn't make the cut.
We didn't make the cut.
Really?
I think there was 20-some applicants, and they funded the top two, and I think we're about 5th down on the list, so.
Are we moving up on the list?
We're just kinda hanging right at 5, so, as the bridges get older and roads have more traffic volume than ours,
Yeah, that's the problem, our traffic
we
count.
won't score any better than what we've got right now, because it's based on traffic count, the load rating of the bridge, out of distance travel, I forget what else, there's like 1 or 2.
It isn't hurt to apply though.
No, we'll apply it.
Keep applying.
Yep.
You'll never get it if you don't apply for it.
Exactly, so, but I just wanted to update you guys on that.
Perfect.
All right.
And kudos on the little machine that they manufactured years ago, pull behind the tractor, go along the shoulders of the road this time of year, and pull in
Pulling shoulders
what's
in.
there.
Yep.
Back towards the road. Got a lot of that done. It's really good. It's the timing, I'm sure they're thrilled with the nice weather. When I say timing, I like to, according to Tom, pull that in prior to spring work and big equipment, you know, and it kinda even packs that down, and it really helps, you know. It gets scraped off towards the ditch side in the winter, they're just scraping it back towards the roadside in the spring. It really looks nice. It's really a great thing to do.
I'll let Tom and the guys know,
Yep.
yeah. We've been
I
trying
already
to
told him, but, yeah.
pull
Well, I
the
mean,
shoulders and get rid of that edge drop.
Yeah, I see now.
you know, there's some stuff there, you know, it's dependent upon the area, but it really looks nice. You know, it's a good project to do, and it saves, and I know there's still the edge running, is that right?
Yeah, we'll still edge rut, usually that's in, August, I believe, that's when we do it.
It's definitely time well spent to use that and run along there and pull that in.
Okay.
Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, Ben.
Anything else?
How's the roads holding up on frost boils?
Really well, actually. I mean, this year's night and day comparison to what we had last year. I mean, we
As
started
you can see
hauling
the
rock.
frost kinda coming up through the cracks, the blackouts, moisture coming out.
Sweat.
Yeah, it's starting to sweat. A nice rain like this is really gonna help the roads. We started hauling rock last week. We got a few miles hauled over by Gilmore, and Denny's hauling a few roads over in Lake Township. Tom's got, his guys out finishing up cutting trees. They've got the tree cutting head on the Hitachi out running right now. Yeah, and I'm working on, truck specs, so,
Okay.
try and get quotes out here next week or so.
What, did you come up with anything on your winter? When I called you Friday?
Shoot. That's what I was thinking.
Just as,
Forgot all about that, thank you.
Thanks, Bruce.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Ben.
I just visited with Ben on Friday and was asking about how we come out for, no, I don't wanna jinx this, we're not officially out of winter, but I wanted to see where we were, as far as our supplies and whatnot.
Our year-to-date sand totals right now are at 1,300 tons. That's similar to the last few years. We did run about 1,700 tons back in 2016. The big difference between this year and previous years is all of our bunkers are full right now. We mixed sand, I think, the first or second week in February, so knock on wood, like Bruce said, we should be close to being done. Right now, as far as snow items, snow and ice control on the first sheet, you can see we're at 74% of what we budgeted for the year. So if we don't have any more snow events, we'll finish
Under budget.
Under, good.
under budget. Cost of materials were over budget. That's on sheet 2. we're at 135% of what I had originally budgeted for the cost of materials, and that's basically the cost of the sand, the chloride, and the chips. But all of that floats into the larger number on the first page. The big one that I'm over on is drainage, between those assessments from DD2 that weren't covered. I'm at, about $141,000 this year in drainage assessments. And, we budget roughly $100,000 a year to cover those costs, so. Otherwise, everything else is, below, considering that we're two-thirds of the way through the year.
Yeah, good.
But our hours, I mean, we aren't way out of whack on our hours for...
No, after talking to you, I went in and, without Sue here, it's a lot harder. It took me probably 5 times as long.
At least you're honest.
But, Tom and Jeff have both been taking pay for their overtime. Denny's the only one that's racked up comp time, and I think he's at 80 hours, and he's the highest out of anybody as far as the amount of comp time that they've got built up, so.
Okay.
Knock on wood.
Knock on wood.
Been a mile over.
Yeah.
So they have that option?
They have the option of taking either comp time or overtime pay. Yep. And then at the end of June, we reset all the clocks to 0. Basically, everybody goes back to 0. Sue clears the books and pays everybody out for whatever hasn't been used. And then we start over again.
So if they did take comp time, they'd have to have it used by the end of June?
Yes. Yep. Where you run into the occasional issue is where a guy will use all of his comp time in May and June, and then his anniversary date is July or August or September, and then they use their vacation time through there, but, yeah. I know the county's personnel policy caps the amount of comp time that an employee can earn. The union policy does not.
And he said, what, you had 3 pallets of calcium?
Yeah, we're down to 3 pallets of calcium.
So, probably have to order...
That was good or bad, then?
I don't know.
I got
Well, they didn't make you sign for it, so I think that is true.
Well, my wife's trying to get done with jury duty in about 2 weeks, so she's got her fingers crossed.
Oh, no.
And every Monday you do that phone call. We need you, we don't need you.
Wife's doing the same thing right now.
Well, good, I'm glad to hear that.
Yep.
Just an invitation to the policeman's ball, that's all.
No, we had, Mort Christensen's wife's vehicle got hit by a chunk of wood off of our tree cutting bed.
Mm.
So put a little dent in the door. So that was just ICAP's confirmation of the plane wreck.
Okay.
All right.
Very good, thank you, Ben.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you. Well, Linda, we have everything checked off the list, I believe, except the approval and the cancellation of the family farm tax credits.
Here's what we lost on that case.
No. I'll let you do the explanation of this, but...
Okay. I just kinda wanted to tell you guys about that case that was in the paper.
Mhm.
And, it went down $315,000, which is about probably, what's the levy in Humboldt, 35? More. Probably 5,000 plus taxes,
Mhm.
so. So you know. Okay, family farm, we have, this is the new applications here. This is the cancellations for whatever reason is listed. And it's usually They passed away, sold.
Change of ownership.
Yep, yep.
Okay, is that number, so this original assessment
Yes,
lowered by the comp board,
lowered by the board of review.
excuse me, board review, pardon me.
And this is the judges.
And this would have been,
The board of review.
how much it
lowered-
was lowered?
Yep, and then the judge lowered it another, and this is the total.
The total,
That was
I
lost.
think you ought to give the judge all of your paperwork and say, you wanna do my job, here it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't really
That's the
understand
total.
how that is doable thing anyway.
Without giving her information, that just does not seem right.
I know, I mean, I'm kind of disappointed, very disappointed.
Mhm.
well, I'll pass this around, but
We,
you can,
it was just
Take a look
decided by
back.
the judge, and he signed the order, and that was it. I had no input whatsoever, except that I wasn't gonna go any lower than what the board of review did, so.
essentially, for however, whatever, lowered it another little over 71,000
Yeah.
from the board
Mhm.
review.
Yep. And I
Can
think,
you appeal this?
yes, you can.
But we were told we shouldn't?
No, you can go to a higher court on it.
I think personally, and Linda and I talked a little bit, I'd like the precedent, I'd like the explanation,
Right.
what they based lowering it on, before I'd probably take it any further, because anytime you go further, you have court cost and...
Well, he had an appraisal on it, one appraisal. And, that appraisal stated that you can't sell property in Humboldt for any more than $500,000. And, nothing...
You can't, huh?
Well, put it on the market and see.
Yeah.
Sounds like a bunch of hocus pocus crystal ball stuff, that's pretty facetious. I would like to see, yeah.
I know none of them would sell their house for, I'm pretty sure that none of them would sell their house for that, 'cause I told them, I'll be first in line, I'll get a loan somehow, and as long as the taxes stay down, 'cause I can't afford those either, but,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's not right, what that judge did is not right.
Mm-mm.
I guess that's what I don't understand, that's really not his area of expertise, would it be?
No.
But yet, you make a ruling that says,
Mhm.
like it or lump it, basically.
Mhm.
And based on one appraisal.
Yeah. And the board adjusted that property based upon that on that appraisal. They didn't go down as far as probably the appraisal stated, but I think they made a good decision on that they lowered it anyway, but they didn't go all the way. They kinda wanna keep, this property owner also wanted us to change the grade on that property. And if we would've done that, then everything's out of whack in the whole neighborhood. And that's the way with these values, when you end up, you can look at them and say, well, this one should be higher, and this one should be higher, and maybe this one a little lower, and this one a little lower. No, not so much with this.
Outside of this, I consider facetious ruling, the due process was followed. We have a board of review, make sure we have the appropriate number of members on the board of review. They did review it, they made a fair recommendation, it was favorable, it did go down.
Right.
There
was one other in the same neighborhood that they tried to keep the, kinda like the percentage that they lowered it the same for being overbuilt for the area. And, so they kinda tried to keep them comparable.
I think they did their job.
Yeah, I do too. I think they did a good job.
So there was just one other person in that area that appealed besides...
In that neighborhood, and then we had another one in another high-end neighborhood. So,
So the feelings from us is we should request his,
Justification.
yeah,
Well, I don't know that you can do that. I just wanted to relay to you what happened, that, you know.
I don't understand it, how he has the ability to do it anyway, but,
Oh, he does. I
um,
mean, he has the power to do it.
And then the only thing we could do is direct Linda to appeal it.
Mm-hmm.
My fear of litigation is that you spend more than you'll ever recapture.
Well, and I asked,
well, it's $5,000
Three other
difference than
appraisals.
what we've already lost.
yeah, I asked 3 appraisers to do an appraisal on it. They wouldn't touch it. So, and one of them was out of Minneapolis, and he said he's too far away. He used to be in Des Moines. And then, one out of Algona said no, and one out of Omaha said no. So,
Why didn't they wanna appraise it?
well, one thing, they don't know the area,
Okay.
you know, and what the market's doing. Our market here is pretty darn good, really. I mean, I talked to like Cassuth counties, and hers is just kind of stable, and Fort Dodge is kind of stable, I think. Humboldt's really right at the moment that houses sell well, don't you think?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. So, and we raised, residential in 19 as a revaluation year, and we raised it, our median has to be within 95 to 105 with the Department of Revenue, and we had to raise it 15%. So our sales indicated that we were way...
We were up that, okay, and we were up that much, okay.
Yeah, we needed to bump up our values. And we raised it the time before, too, in 2017. So, and that could all change. I mean, things could, you know, stable out and whatever, and then we make adjustments at that time.
Do we need a motion on your approval or cancellation for your farm tax,
Yeah.
family?
Did you want to see the new ones? Need you to sign these minutes.
How come I get all these?
Then we had a little miscommunication in the building, and, I found out about the court case through the newspaper, well, through another taxpayer that read the newspaper. And, I guess the clerk of court sent out an email that, with copies sent to me that I didn't get them. Were you supposed to too?
Usually I do get
Yeah.
copies of them, and I never did.
So,
Now,
just...
you make her and sign them, and they'll be official.
Yep. So, that was kinda unfortunate. But, what advice I can give my board of review is just don't automatically lower all these just because of this.
Yeah,
Right.
we'd have to change our levy rate.
Oh, yeah, oh, okay, gotcha.
Yep.
Sorry, I got
Well-
guilty.
Basically, if you do that...
I do that once in a while.
That's the same guy.
The door will never shut.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. So, this one of them asked me, she says, well, are we gonna have to just lower everybody's and be like this percentage?
Same guy.
No, absolutely not. Each one is a different property, it's a different situation, it needs to go through the system.
The same,
That's the word.
Hmm?
Same guy. He's all over the county here, the county.
Oh, okay.
I was approached on Saturday by one of the city council members about the issue with people, buying buildings in Humboldt City wise, and then going to Linda and asking for them to be changed to a farm building, so that, to an ag building as opposed to a commercial. And one of the council members wanted to know what we were gonna do. I said, well, I'm pretty sure if you had, anything that you could ask Linda, she'd love to hear what we could do, because everything that is set, and then when you have to change it, then someone else has to help pick up the...
Right.
So...
Yep, they pick up the bill.
Like this adjustment, it has to come from someone else.
Somebody else has to pick up the reduction, yes.
So, anyway, I know that's I think we should check with other counties and see what they've done. 'Cause I can't imagine we're the only ones that are
Right.
being...
Well, I don't know, there's two of them I changed last year, and maybe I shouldn't have, I don't know. They're used strictly for storage of tractors. Tractors that he claims that he uses for farming. But I don't know, I kinda wonder if that actually qualifies as an ag classification if you just store them there. On the one that went to PAB, he testified that he worked on his equipment there, was close to the implements and that sort of thing, and I don't know what weight they really put on it, if it was him working on his equipment there or what it was. But that's like 10 miles from his farm, and so are these. So I'll check around.
You have a tough job.
Yeah, and we're having a PAP case Wednesday down in Des Moines, so we'll let you know how that goes.
Okay.
Okay.
Can I ask you a question on getting back to these, tax credit things we
Yes.
just looked at? Do you have, concerns on any of those for approval?
No,
You
we don't, no, they were all signed as okay.
Okay.
Because I know it's
My,
couple notes, but I just wanted to know
Yeah.
if there was any concern
No,
that they're actually qualified.
I think this one was a denial, wasn't it? No, that would've been on the other one. I'll have to ask about this one. Oh, okay.
I was referencing the sticky notes, so I just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure that there was...
I don't know if cash rent, I'm sure he claims he has input into the farming, but I don't know really how much if he cash rented out.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe that's,
We should pull that one out, and we should discuss that separately.
yeah, I think you should. Because he's got many, many, many acres.
Leaving us already?
Yeah, I gotta get mine. Running behind, as usual.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I think you need to operate the farms, don't you?
Yes, yeah, you're supposed to have input into the operation of the farm.
All right. I'll make a motion to approve the, what we got down here? Approve the family farm tax credit for the ones who subjected, or gave us, except for these two that I'm holding. And they wanna appeal it.
Yeah, you can get back to us, yeah, and explain if we're
Okay.
wrong on that note.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So that covered the approval and the cancellation of the family farm tax credit.
Yep.
Fair enough. Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Linda. Okay. Do we have any other items of business pertinent at this
John
time?
around, so I'm not sure today.
I know, I had to make sure I
Everyone's got everything checked off.
Please inform me if I'm missing something that's not
I
checked
just
off.
don't,
but-
I would, the only thing I have is, about the fire this weekend. I was going to tell, while Kent was here, thank you for Bode and Gilmore City bringing their services over to help at Humboldt, because they were having some issues with some water. So it was a blessing to have them bring manpower and some trucks to help bring water down to that home, and they put up similar to what they do in the country, they put a couple of those tanks up so they can pump. Because they'd get the thing under control, and then the wind would blow, and then it would start stoking the fire again, and
awful.
so, long story short, Gilmore City and Bode both provided trucks and manpower, so it was very, Jim wanted to make sure that everyone knew that they had done that, and thank him. He said he personally did, but
Very good.
make it public notice that
Wow.
it took place, and it was very well appreciated, so,
The only good thing about that, as I understand, no one was hurt.
yeah, they can rebuild. It's just a little close for comfort when you can see, almost feel the flames
Yes.
or heat
Oh,
from it.
yeah.
So,
The wind did not help. We were driving by Granger when that,
other one,
big fire was going by. Oh my gosh, it was bad,
well, it's terrible.
so.
Anyway, with that, if we're done, I'd make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.